Now it's time for discussion and questions about these wonderful presentations.
I had a comment and a memory that came to mind from Dorit's presentation about book selection. I've worked with teachers in very low-income populations in the United States, and two particular, at very different places, I've had the same experience. In both cases, it was teachers who were African American, very limited education themselves, working with the poorest children in community child care centers. And I had taken books that I thought were very good books to them. And in two cases, the character was displayed. One was like a story in which there's a child getting angry at another child and says, "Oh, you're so stupid." And the teachers hated that. They absolutely could not stand to have either language or bad behavior portrayed by the characters. And another one where a beautiful friendship story, but very muted colors. Even teachers from varied backgrounds did not like that. But there's I think that what you found in all your affluent community, I think you would maybe even find in stronger ways if you look across the levels and look at the teachers who were working with some of the least, the most at-risk children. I suspect there would be a very strong pressure toward the didactic, the simple, and the showing, right behaviors, not showing the real challenges, the emotional challenges of children, but rather showing right behavior.
Actually, Margarita and I had
But you can tell. We worked in one of our projects, we worked with the Sesame Street books, and there's one of the books that's called the Stinky Birthday. Oscar is having a stinky birthday. We loved it. We thought that it was like something similar to your books, not a quality book as much as yours, but we loved the fact that it was like about being different, about being naughty. And in addition, it was about Oscar, who really liked all these disgusting things. Like he liked rotten leaves and stinky ice cream and things, and old toys rather than, and broken toys rather. And his friends realized that in order to make him happy for his birthday, that's what they should bring him. And whenever they came to bring him something, he said, "Oh, I hate this. That's disgusting. That's terrible." The teachers, many of the teachers really didn't like it. They said they didn't understand that it was all about seeing the other person. Dorit was talking about empathy. We saw it as a book that could encourage empathy and seeing and understanding others and really relating to children's world, if we can dare say something like that, because it's really hard to get into children's world, but that's how we saw it. And the teachers did not like it, and I mean they refused to read them. It wasn't about disliking them, but okay, we'll read them. They weren't prepared to use them. We did, both of us, we did teach it in the university with our students, and we discussed it. Somebody said, I don't remember who it was, that maybe it's important, maybe Dorit, you said it, that it's important maybe in PJ Library, for example, or Maktabat al-Fanus, to discuss with teachers the considerations of what good books are. And maybe taking the books that are initially the ones that create resentment are the ones that can start an interesting conversation and change of attitudes, beliefs, knowledge and understanding.
אני רוצה להתייחס לכמה נקודות. תחילה, בחירת ספר היא משימה לא קלה לגננות, עד כמה וכמה להורים. זה לא קל, לא כל הגננות, וגם קשה להם לבחור ספר. אני חושבת שזה, כל הקריטריונים שחנה דיברה עליהם, וגם הסופרת רונית דיברה, הם מאוד חשובים, ולא כל הגננות כן יודעות איך לבחור ספר. ואנחנו אומרים שהורים לא יודעים, זה כן הם לא יודעים, כי זו משימה לא קלה. אני חושבת שכן, אנחנו דיברנו בבוקר על חשיבות האינטראקציה וחשיבות שיתוף ההורים, וזאת אחד הדברים גם צריך להגיד להורים איך לבחור ספר, כי הם לא יודעים איך לבחור ספר. ועוד נקודה, אנחנו אומרים שההורים בחרו במחקר שלך דורית ספרים שהם קלים, הם בשפה הפשוטה והם קצרים וזה. אני מבינה אותם, אבל לא מקבלת את האמירה הזאת. למה אני מבינה אותם? היום ההורים רובם עובדים, ובמיוחד גם אמהות, עובדות עד שעות מאוחרות, עד שהן באות הבית, וכל התעסוקה הזאת, ובסוף היום אני צריכה גם לקרוא לילד ספר, אז הן מותשות. אז גם זה נושא שאנחנו צריכים לחשוב עליו, שזה גם קשה לאמהות, ואני מבינה, אבל לא קשה לקבל, אבל צריך לעשות גם צעד בנושא הזה. בקשר לחברה הערבית ולפאדל עלי, אני אוהבת את השירים שלו, ועובדה שציטטתי כמה שירים בספר שכתבתי לכיתה א' ומלמדים אותו בחלק מבתי הספר. אני לא יכולה להגיד היום שהחברה שלנו הערבית חברה פטריארכלית, יש שינוי, ואני אמרתי קודם בהרצאה שלי שאנחנו עוברים מטולטלת, יש שינוי, והשינוי הוא לטובה. עובדה שיש, עכשיו זה לא רק חברה גברית, נכון שעדיין יש, אבל יש יותר נשים שיוצאות לשוק העבודה, יש יותר נשים משכילות, יש יותר גברים ששותפים. בסדר, אבל יש יותר גברים שכן אבות שמשתפים אמהות.
רק שנייה.
אייל, יכולה לטפל עם האיש?
I wonder if maybe the...
אייל?
Now I can.
Now, yes.
אין תרגום. לא שומעים.
תעברי אנגלית.
אוקיי, אבל אני יכולה, אבל אני לא רוצה לטעות. העובדה שדיברתי איתם כל היום אנגלית, אז כן, לא. אוקיי, טוב.
Okay, no problem, no, it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay,
Just
you
stop.
now?
Yes, we're
It just
fine.
suddenly stopped, and so,
Yeah.
but it now started again. So.
Start again.
Yeah.
אז נכון שהאחוז הוא לא גדול, אבל יש שינוי בחברה הערבית, והשינוי הוא לטובה. עובדה אפילו נשים דתיות היום, שאנחנו אומרים שחברה דתית, אז הם יותר, נהיים יותר שמרים, ואני חושבת שהרבה נשים גם דתיות יוצאות והולכות לשוק העבודה וגם יותר משכילות. עכשיו, בקשר זה נכון, והוא אמר דברים קשים והם נכונים, אבל אני חושבת שאיך שהוא אמר, לא צריך כל הזמן לתת ביקורת שלילית, אלא ללכת גם בכיוון החיובי, שכן יש שינוי, והשינוי הזה כן יוביל לשינוי בחברה הערבית, בגלל שאנחנו גם חיים במדינה שיש בה גם יהודים, שהיא בתרבות יותר מערבית, שכן משפיעה, ואני מקווה שההשפעה תשמר ההשפעה החיובית ולא יותר השלילית, כי באמת יש השפעה חיובית מאוד של החברה היהודית על החברה הערבית, מבחינת אפקים חדשים. עובדה שאנחנו עושים מחקרים ביחד, ואנחנו, אז אלה הדברים שרציתי להגיד. זה הכל.
You can take them off. Yeah. The subject of choosing books and the parameters by which we select books as parents, as educators, is one that I take very seriously and very personal in my professional persona as a member of the book selection committee for Sifliat Pijama. With awe, I want to say, I approach the challenge of selecting 8 books for a family as an unsolicited gift that they didn't choose. They didn't go to the store and say, we don't have this, we want this is different, this is new. Please excuse me for not remembering who said what. I absorbed a lot today and I don't remember who. So in one of the discussions, people were talking about different genres. And we have found that poetry, while we all, I speak for myself at least, think that it's a very, very important genre in general, and particularly for young children because of the rhythm, because of the rhyme, because of the word games, because of the ability for the child to respond to it as expressive language. Many parents have trouble with it. It's challenging for them. It's not as easy as a story that has a plot line. The illustrations in Where the Wild Things Are, as opposed to simple, bright, solid colors, can be challenging for people. Minase, which is one of my favorite books, Where's Ronit? One of my favorite books, Also has interesting illustrations. It is a story that you can understand at its most basic level, but also you can take it to many, many places. The tension between giving people what they think they want because they know it and they're used to it and it's easy, and it's control, it's responsibility, and it's control to be purchasing and giving out books to so many people in the country. We want to make changes in society, but we can't be presumptuous that we know better in certain ways because we are the experts. We look for quality, and it's tension that every day we deal with when we select our books between what is already there and what's on its way. I think that I can proudly say, as Sifriat Pijama, that even when we've taken risks and we've given out books that are graphic novels and we've given out books that the illustrations are different and the poems are like that, we have very, very, very positive feedback from the field. And I think that part of that goes to when a book is good, a book is good. And the second one is that when the teachers mediate or the parent guides help people understand and read, we're not telling them, we're saying, look at it this way, open your eyes in a different way, and we're inviting them to. We find that in the end, the books are very, very well accepted, and I think that that is the way to go.
I want to complete that. I think that one of the things that's very important to realize in a program like Sifriat Pijama is ultimately if the parents don't read the book to their kids because they didn't like it, we have not achieved our goal. I have to say, I just want to tell this public that the all-time least favorite book of parents and teachers in the country ever in the 5 years was Leah Goldberg's Ayala Dara. Okay? Beautiful classic book. It happens to be my personal favorite as a kid who totally, this is a kid who's, every time the bad part of them keeps coming out, and they keep, at the end of it, they sort of say, maybe when I'm grown up, the bad kid will go away, okay? And anyway, this book was like, it was a disaster. So we had great intentions, okay? If the book did not get handed out by some teachers, if the book was not read by some parents, we have not achieved the goal. So it's always a dance, what Sylvia began to explain. And we do sometimes put a book that we know it's not going to get a high rating because we think it's important anyway. With the naughty boy, we probably will not do that one again. But I also want to speak a minute to the other part of Ronit's story about Manasseh. Because Ronit wrote the story, but what happened was that you wrote it many years ago, if I'm not mistaken. The story was written quite a long time ago, the Manasseh story. The version of it that I know, so here we have two narratives, is we are constantly looking for books that will represent parts of the population that are underrepresented. So we have a constant dialogue with children's book editors. And one of the constant parts of that dialogue is to say there are very few good books about Ethiopian, about immigration, about Russian immigration, Ethiopian immigrants in general. And we turned down a book that had Ethiopians trudging through deserts coming to Israel. We didn't want a book like that. We didn't want a book called Chocolate Child, Chocolate, the chocolate boy, where the kid looks like doo-doo and the teacher says, no, he looks like chocolate. We didn't think that was going to go anywhere either. So there were very few books that we felt we could use. And so we have this constant dialogue with editors about things that we're looking for. And one of the things we really do look for is folk tales. But one of the things we said is something that speaks to immigrants, something that speaks to immigrants. And one of the editors said to us, I had something, sometimes somebody sent me something, let me go figure out who it was and so forth. And then this relationship was created and we received the story and we loved it because it's not confined, because it's not, the word Ethiopian, by the way, doesn't appear anywhere in Ronit's story. The fact that it's an Ethiopian scenery or Ethiopian child, main character, Mr. Manasseh is Ethiopian, is only through the illustrations. So really, from the text, it could be a kid who moves to a new neighborhood. It can be getting rid of your pacifier, that you are a little bit who you used to be and who you are now, and we're getting rid of your diapers. So that's what we liked, the fact that it had a really, as a folk story should have, a universal appeal, and yet it was very specific. We identified, turns out that it's also in Turkey, it's also in Arab culture, it's also Moroccan, it's from everywhere as a story. But we focused it on Ethiopian to give really a voice to this population. With the second book, Ronit has really been expresses our mission so well. The second story that she spoke about that is part of Sifriyat Pijama is also a book that's a folktale. And here the issue was the illustrations, because it's a story that exists in Eastern Europe, it exists also in the Arab world, it exists everywhere, this story. And we specifically had it illustrated with an emphasis on Oriental Jews, because they are also tremendously underrepresented in Israeli literature. Last year we had 2 books that came out that focused on that population in terms of illustrations. You don't have to, a lot of the stories that are famous in Yiddish culture are also part of Oriental Jewish culture. But the illustrations, if you have books that are done in America, they will be shtetl, and you don't really have an expression of the Oriental culture here at all. So that's something that we really have been trying to really promote. So I think that there's a story behind the story. I think it also speaks to the importance of illustration, and that is really sort of just so that you're aware of how complicated this is and the kinds of considerations that Sylvia is talking about. There are gender considerations. There are traditional stories versus modern stuff. There's Israeli classical literature versus modern authors. Why is my book not in Sifriyat Pijama versus how much Leo Goldberg and how much Bialik do you want to give kids? So there's a constant dialogue about how do you create balance, and I think what we try to do really is to create a menu. So one thing of poetry, some things that are modern, some things that are universal literature, and it's a constant dance and it's a constant balance, but ultimately I think the books do have to appeal to parents. And one thing we haven't spoken about really, but Professor Thiel mentioned it, was really the issue of what kids like. And this is something that really, why do kids have such bad taste sometimes? I'm not sure. But they do, and I don't know what to do about it. But we have to respect it in some way. We have to respect it, and in some way, we also have to help them grow. And I'm not quite sure how to do that. Thank you.
How about the choosing books for the maktab of the fanus? How do you work on that? I mean, there's a whole lecture about tomorrow. Oh, okay. Okay. Because of the limited number of books that we have, of course. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to go first?
I don't want to be specific and give details about Maktabat al-Fanus, but I can say about genres that we have various of genres, and we really insist about that. So we have nonsense, we have poetry, narrative, so that the other children can experience various genres. I want to say about al-Fahm reads that we do teach in all the courses, also to parents, to kindergarten teachers and to caregivers, about how to pick good the standards of good books and how to pick a book, and all the professionals are change agents, so they can guide the parent how to pick good books. So we do work about that in our courses on al-Fahm reads, and the parents are saying now we have evidence from them that we now know how to pick a book. We now know how to read the book. We now know how many books that are not good in our library, and we are putting it aside and we are replacing it in another good book. We have supplied also books so they can also see and practice it in the kindergarten classes and in the caregivers days, in the daycares and in the childhood centers in Al-Fahim, in the 3 places.
I just wanted to suggest, we're talking about Pyjamas Library and the Maktab al-Fanus, that now, like, you giving the parents a gift, and you're giving them 8 good books, and you spend a lot of time thinking about these books. The same with Al-Fahim. And you're giving them also suggestions about how to read the books to the kids, right? And what to discuss during the book. And I just suggest another addition is, just point to good things about this book. Like, it's not that, as Hannah said, not every book has to have all the benefits and not, but just draw their attention. You can edit it, it's just 2-3 sentences, just drawing their attention. This book, instead of building on them, inferencing, learning from their experience, you can just say to them, this book is good because of this. We chose it because it's good, and find 1-2 strong points. This is a small addition. Thanks.
I want to just say something I probably won't have time to tomorrow, which is a completely different topic, but it was touched on briefly, which is what do we do about parents who are illiterate? And in a project that I had that I think was funded with the same kind of money that Bill had, in Nashville we have 4 different linguistic communities we were dealing with, and we had books that were getting sent home in backpacks that we translated into Kurdish, Somalian, Egyptian, Arabic, and Spanish. And the backpack had the book with the text pasted into it, and a CD which was read by, we hope well, a native speaker, as well as a little book, a journal that the parents would write in, and parents and the children that would come back to the school. And this was an enormous amount of work to put this together, but it's the kind of thing that with the systems that you have here, you could select occasional books. And it was fascinating. Debbie Rose actually written an article about this. It came in Reading Teacher a year or 2 ago. Often the things that came back showed that the parents did a lot. They would do the writing for the children, or they would do some pictures, and so you really got a chance to see the engagement that the parents had with it. But I think that giving the parents access who are illiterate to the actual text is important. Well, in this case, they could listen to it. I mean, they didn't have to be able to read it at all. They could listen to it. So I think that's an interesting issue.
And I would just like to add a cautionary tale. We did a study this year that looked at children's comments and questions. We were trying to encourage greater interaction on the part of the children. And we selected a series of books that were on dinosaurs. Now, dinosaurs are really exciting. They're, really wonderful for children to look at. The illustrations are scary but fun. And so what we found in this series that we were examining is very negative effects on children's interactions and engagement. Exactly opposite of what we had intended. And we began to look at why. Now, these were very good books, but it goes back to my point later on before, and that was these children did not have background knowledge in dinosaurs. They had very little understanding of what had related to dinosaurs. Further, the teachers, and in your case, many times the parents, could not pronounce the words that were related to dinosaurs. They were frightened, and as a result, they didn't talk at all about it. So what we presumed was very good for us and for good selection and what would be interesting for us was exactly opposite for them. And I just want to caution you that ultimately it's about the children and the children's interaction, and that it really is not about us very often. Yes. They were narrative, they were predictable, narrative, and text. Thank you. It's been a wonderful session. See you tomorrow.